how many account openings are you currently doing per week at your firm, and how many of those are actually being closed out and completed in a week? In today's video, we're going to be talking about how you can start tracking the account openings that are happening at your firm, as well as how many of those are actually being closed out inside of your Wealthbox CRM utilizing the reports function. Now, a lot of us know that it is very important to see how quickly you can open up accounts and onboard new clients. So we're going to show you effectively in your CRM in Wealthbox how you can start doing that by leveraging the workflows and reports tab, so that when you are actually starting to track the account openings at your firm, you can see how many are getting done in a week and how many of them are being opened up in a week. Hi, my name is Matthew, and at Advisor Tech Partners, we help firms build out workflows, processes, and automations directly into their Wealthbox CRM. If this sounds like something you need help out with, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we post a lot of free content weekly. Now, in our example today, we have our onboarding and our new client onboarding and account opening workflow that we always launch whenever we close a new prospect. Now, we know a lot of firms that have a general idea of what their process is. Maybe the lead advisor then sends a message to a CSA or to their associate advisor once you close a new prospect with just some general information on to open up a new account. Now, if you haven't really thought about what that onboarding process looks like, a new account opening process is for a new client that was just converted from a prospect, you should really take some time to spend with your team to see what are the steps that go into opening up this account and to really successfully onboard a client. This can look like reconfirming information that you grabbed along the process of when that new client was a prospect. Maybe just also asking for some more additional information that you'll need to open up the account. And then lastly, having a really built out follow-up process when you're sending out those new account opening documents, and then really pushing out a task or maybe a step in a workflow to really just make sure that that account does get opened and funded. Now, I know those are a lot of general ideas here, but in our case, we just have a workflow, and we're going to be working through this one to show you how you can start tracking how many of those account openings are happening per week and how many of those account openings are actually being closed out in a week. So we'll show you here exactly what we're talking about and those steps that you should be tracking along the way. So for our example and for the workflow that we've built, by no means is this perfect and going to be working for your firm. So take the suggestions lightly and maybe brainstorm some ideas of how you onboard clients. But in our example here, we have the first step being confirming the new client information, just meaning any information that's relevant to the account opening and things that we want kept in our Wealthbox CRM. Next, we're actually going into the paperwork prep, and then we're going to be specifying how many accounts and what account types are being opened up for this new client. Then we're going on to sending out the actual account paperwork. And then after that, we're going to be making sure that if the client needs a reminder, and let's say it's been a couple days, we'll go ahead and push this to a decision tree, or essentially an outcome on if the client should be really just be followed up with, just making sure that account gets opened and funded. Next, we're going to confirm that the account paperwork has been signed. And then lastly, we're going to see if the account transfer has happened. Then we're going to go into the new account has been opened and funded, and just making sure those are things you check off, because from past experience, and we know a lot of you experience this, an account may have been opened, but maybe there's something wrong with the transfer of assets, or maybe establishing the money link or their checking account. Now, these other things may be relevant to your firm and they may not be. What we see are, you definitely want to be linking up your financial planning software tools with that newly opened account, so that you actually get some real data into your client's financial plan. And then the last two things here, making sure that you open up and link the account if possible in Wealthbox. And then lastly, really just making sure that you are adding that new client to any monthly news blast or maybe newsletter that you have that you like to send out for clients. So now, thinking about this from a report standpoint, I want to know how many times has this workflow been launched and how many times has this workflow been completed in the past week. So I'm going to pick out 2 steps in this workflow to really tell me, has this been completed and has this step been completed? So my telltale is going to be the first step here, confirm new client information. Now what this is going to tell me is that once this step is completed, this workflow is actually starting. And if I go all the way down to the bottom, if I want to know that this workflow step has been fully completed and this workflow is done, like meaning the new account has been opened, it is funded, and we have onboarded a new client, then I'm going to go to this very last step here for marketing software, add the new client or clients to the monthly marketing email campaign. And I'm going to make sure that when I'm tracking this report, once this specific step in the workflow is completed, that's going to give me an indication that this whole workflow has been done. So you can start tracking on a weekly basis how many of these have been started and how many of these have been completed. So let's go ahead and navigate over to the reports function. So if I go ahead and click on the reports, what I'm going to want to do is now go ahead and create a new report. Now we have already built one that may work for your firm, may not. It's a little bit different than what we're talking about, but we're going to go ahead and show you what that looks like because we want to show you maybe an easier way to accomplish this instead of looking at specific steps in your workflow. So if I go ahead and click edit, and now the report object you're going to want to show as a workflow. Now the naming convention is really up to you, but we're really trying to track this as a client servicing task, really just making sure how many account openings we're doing. You can name this account servicing, maybe client servicing. It really depends on how you like to track these tasks at your firm. And then we'll go on to the actual report filters here. So the first one we're going to be showing is the field scheduled at. So we have scheduled at, and the operators are going to be between dates because I just want to show this for the past year. So I selected January 1st through December 31st. And then next, we're going to want to click the AND function here. And then we're going to be looking for the field name that includes this specific account opening and new onboarding workflow that we just created. Now I'll go ahead down here and I'll select the different fields. So if I want to go ahead and push a field over, like let's say I wanted to see the creator and who actually created the workflow, I can go ahead and push that over or back if I don't want to display that field. And then next we're going to go under the fields to group by, and we'll show the group by as scheduled at, and we'll look at this as a weekly number. You can change this to daily, monthly, or maybe even quarterly if you want to see those numbers. But again, staying true to what we talked about at the beginning of the video, we're going to show a week by week view of how many of these workflows are actually being opened and created, and then how many of them are being completed. And then lastly, we'll also group by name. So if I go ahead and save that template here, it's going to spit out a report that essentially tells me on a week by week basis how many of these are being created and then how many of these are actually being completed. Now, once this loads up, we'll show you what that looks like. So now that we've generated this report, I've actually gone ahead and added a couple of different charts here, one showing that the workflows have been started in a given week, and then one that workflows had been completed in a given week. So in our example, we have one workflow starting here, and that was for Joe Schmo in the week of, that looks like February 23rd. So it looks like we started this on February 24th. And then we actually completed it on that same day. And again, we're using this for the purposes of this video. So we'll see that the other chart that we created for the weekly workflows completed also shows that that workflow was completed in the same week. So that gives you just a general or a better idea of how many workflows are being created in 1 week and then how many of them are being completed in that same week. Now, your onboarding process may take a while, right? So it may take up to 2 weeks for that account to be open and for the funding to come and hit the account so a client is fully onboarded. But this gives you a measure of how quickly that is happening and how many of these workflows are being completed per week. And so if you want to see really how long is this taking my team, this is a great metric to start tracking and maybe eliminating some things that are irrelevant or streamlining your processes so that you can actually start moving forward and onboarding clients quicker. We hope you found this video extremely helpful and valuable. If you do, and maybe you're still facing a couple of challenges at your firm in setting these things up, like workflows or processes, or really how to track and get the best out of your Wealthbox CRM, please feel free to schedule an intro call with us, and that'll be in our description below. We'd be more than happy to talk about those challenges that your firm is currently facing.